Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So after the summer break, we are back and I'm starting off with a couple of interviews. Our first one is going to be with the amazing Oonagh O'Brien. She's also known as Equine Sense and Sensibilities on Instagram and Facebook. So she is a product reviewer. She also has two beautiful mini ponies that we talk about a little bit, and she's also one of my co-hosts of the Grassroots Rider Academy, but we kept that a little bit quiet. Anyway, I hope you enjoy these guys and look forward to hearing back what you think of them. Hey guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I'm joined by Oonagh O'Brien. So Oonagh O'Brien is a equine product reviewer, owner of two amazingly cute miniature ponies and a lovely dog, by the way. And she's also one of the co-hosts of the Grassroots Rider Academy series with me. Welcome to the podcast, Oonagh. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks for coming on and coming and join me.
Not to worry. My pleasure.
So equine product reviews, that's kind of a niche. How did you fall into that?
I started that in 2017 when a friend of mine asked me to help her launch a product they had developed, which was a horse box saddle rack, I suppose, to describe it. Like they're everywhere now, but back in 2017 they were new to the market really, and it was an ingenious product development where the actual saddle rack folded on the outside of the horse box, so you weren't throwing your saddle on the ground at shows and stuff. Unfortunately, she didn't patent the idea, and they're everywhere now, being manufactured by a lot of different companies. But we started off with that, and that got great exposure. And then kind of companies started approaching me to ask me would I promote their products, which I did. So like I said, it started in 2017. I'm still doing it now, not at the same level because there are so many pages now that offer to do reviews and so on. But when I started, I think there was me and one other girl in the UK that used to do product reviews. But we're still hanging in there, but just not at the level I was when I started.
If you're the OG, you should be still having people coming to you and asking, how has that changed over the last few years?
I think it's changed because of the amount of influencers and bloggers and vloggers that are out there now. And of course, a lot of these companies now sponsor these people. I think really when I started doing it, the internet wasn't at the same level as it is now. I mean, I think really now anybody that has a horse and a social media, they all will kind of at some point become a reviewer or a blogger or a vlogger, whether it's to map their own journey or to actually influence others. It's a massive market out there now, and I think there's almost too much demand for the amount of companies that are out there.
Yeah, I suppose when you started it, companies came to you, but now, like, I think people have the idea that if they have followers, they can just be like, okay, give me stuff, but it's not really like that anymore. You kind of need to show them how you can showcase the products.
You do, and it's something that I see more and more is the amount of companies that are now publicly kind of declaring, you know what, we're looking for brand ambassadors or we're looking for people to review products, but don't come to us if you're looking to just get freebies or just to have your name associated with the big company. And that's unfortunately a thing that is happening a lot. Um, People think that if you become a brand ambassador or associated with the company, that it gives you instant recognition or fame. And it can do that, but it also can have a very negative effect on you because of the fact that there are so many people now, look, we call them what they are, trolls, that they're vindictive and they would have problems with people maybe getting that recognition. To be quite honest, it's not a world that should be entered lightly. I've had my fair share of really nasty people coming up against me because of the fact that, I was very successful in what I was doing. to the point where I felt I was shutting down the whole page and I was getting out of it. But luckily, I had some very supportive friends and indeed companies that
Mm.
said, no, look, just don't let these people get to you. But it's a dangerous world, and it's a world that I would certainly encourage anybody to think carefully before dipping their toe into it. Um, there is a page that came to my attention actually recently. Um, it's called Tattle, where basically these
Oh,
people bitch and slate and
yeah.
destroy influencers. So of course I ran to it and I did a search myself, but I wasn't on there. But I think where I differ is the fact that I never set out to be an influencer. I
Mm.
didn't document really my own journey. I didn't go into the depths that many of these people do. I do
Yeah.
show off my ponies. I do, I did show off the jumper that I had, but it's not about my life as an insight. It's just very vague bits here and there. Oh, we went to class, we did this, or oh, look how cute my ponies are. But I think if you're going to open yourself up to the world, particularly on social media, you have to be prepared that you are going to get shit thrown at you.
Yeah. And that's mad that like you had like it got you close to like closing the page. Were these people you knew or just randomers who just decided to
No,
attack you?
they were, well, no, I tell a lie. The people on the that I knew wouldn't attack me on the page. But I had luckily built up very strong relationships with the companies that I was doing the majority of work for. And they came to me, a couple of them came and kind of said, listen, we have this person in our inbox, one person in particular, kind of stating, oh, I jump higher than her. And, you should really kind of give me products because, I'm obviously a better rider than her and all this crap. But the importance when you're working with companies is that whilst they have to trust in you because they're saying, here's our products, promote it, it has to be a mutual trust and respect for each other. And I'm very lucky to have had that. People then that I didn't know, people will look for issues to come at you with. I remember one time I was doing a review for some attachments to a bridle, and my rein was twisted. It didn't affect the horse in any way. It was just twisted. And look, yeah, when you're putting yourself on social media, you should probably look for these small points, not to give anybody a reason to pull you on something. But I absolutely got annihilated for that. I mean, you'd think the bridle was on upside down and his mouth was pumping blood. I mean, all it was just the rein was slightly twisted. So people will look for things to come at you with. Now, I had very little trouble compared to a lot of people. I mean, I can see young girls out there that they're mentally broken from people trolling them. And
Yeah.
if it comes to that point, I'd say to anybody, give it up. Give it up. There's no free product worth that. There's no jacket saying you're a brand ambassador for X, it is worth that. And like to anybody that is doing the trolling, you don't want to cop on because you never realize how far you can push someone.
Yeah. The thing with those like people who are trolls, like they're never doing better than you, are they?
Never, never. Do you know, it's like, and I heard actually recently, what was it again? Somebody that is kind of, on your level are doing better than you will never criticize you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what if somebody that is doing, yeah, but whereas people that are beneath you are not doing as well, are just sheer haters and full of jealousy, they'll be the ones that'll come after you.
Yeah, the ones who are like doing better than you will tend to try and lift you up to bring you to that level because they want everyone to be good, but the ones that are beneath you will try and drag you back down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all sports have it, but I think equestrianism is probably one of the worst out there
Yeah,
in
I feel that
terms,
as well, yeah.
and it's difficult because, you might not be the best rider in the world, but you have a horse that you have a great relationship with that will carry you around clear rounds, or, that kind of way. It's a balance, it's a partnership.
Mm.
And you can't just decide to hate somebody because they have a really good horse.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're still a good equestrian because their horse isn't going to do things for them if they're fearful of them or if they're, being forced into it. So, it's a difficult one. It's not a single sport where you're either a single and solely responsible for your success. Horse riding is a partnership.
Yeah. Do you think like there's any reason it's more like that with horse riding, or
I think it's because there is a lot of jealousy, and I think jealousy stems a lot in the equestrian sector because it can be something from somebody having a 10,000 euro horse to somebody having one they picked up for 100 euro. It can then go to, somebody wearing Lemieux from head to toe compared to somebody that has a jacket that is 10 years old, and it's like, it's just a sport that is very comparable, when at the end of the day, it really shouldn't be, just focus on yourself and your horse. At the end of the day, and I've always said it, the only opinion that matters is that of what your horse thinks of you,
yeah, that's
but
very true.
people don't see that, and I know it can be difficult for people that maybe just aren't fashion conscious or care about labels, or maybe they just can't afford to update to, you know, this slightly very different, kind of,
Yeah, the new
brands, and
model that has a
it can
different
go through.
trim.
Yeah, literally, I mean, like, how many shades of lilac can you have?
Oh.
Because I wasn't aware that there were so many.
It's like the question in nude lipsticks, like how many there are. Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough one. And I think that, I think social media is actually the stem of all problems. And this is something that I always echo when I'm chatting to Shane from the Grassroots Gazette, is that we never had all these problems years ago when there was no social media, but now it's too easy to make a flippant comment or to be, a little bit catty kind of about somebody's horse or a tire and so on social media, because no matter what you say, there'll be always somebody who will back you up.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I suppose it kind of doesn't feel like it's real when you're just typing. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't like, say for instance, that person who was in the inbox, like they wouldn't have gone up to you and said, like they didn't even have the balls to like comment on you online because they'd see your name, but they went to the company and be like, well, why am I not? Because obviously they're jealous of the fact you are. And by the
Yeah,
way, if you want a brand to follow you, or to give you free stuff, you don't go to them and say, well, I'm better than your ambassador, so you should give me more money. You
oh
go,
my
or you
God,
should give me stuff like,
I couldn't believe it. And like, what made it worse is that I had I had been competing at a high level for a year, for the majority of my life, really. Sorry, it's the dog just rolling on the ground there if you're hearing weird noises. Um and I dropped down, just, I had my fill of it. Like, I was getting older. It's kind of like it was just approached in so many wrong levels. And I really respected the companies. There was three or four companies that she'd gone to behind my back, kind of telling them all the same thing. And all of them
oh,
came to me and said, look, we just want to advise you that this is what's happening.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, that's my point again, is if you are working with companies, you have to have that relationship where both of you can go to each other and say, look, I'm having an issue with this, or, you need to tell me if there's something as well.
yeah. Like the thing is as well, like that's the quickest way. She's blacklisted now. She's probably never going to get sponsored by any of them.
Not by them anyway, no.
Yeah, maybe someone else, but like, yeah, just I think there definitely has to be working relationships. It's not a case, and again, I think well, obviously the influencer and all that stuff is such a big thing. Like it's a lot what a lot of younger people aim to do now. But I think you do have to have a working relationship with the company. It's not just here, give me this free stuff. And
Absolutely. And I think, that's something that people don't think about often enough, is the fact that once you're, we'll just say, signed to be a representative of that company, you're putting the spotlight on yourself a lot more than you might if you weren't. For example, you have to go and share the shit days. You can't just select the days that you come home with the red ribbon, because, you know, that's creating a false narrative of your success. And therefore, you're kind of portraying the company as like, oh, we only support successful people. Whereas you have to also say, like, I mean, I've had to put up posts where, I never placed, or I had a shit day, or, I was just having a meltdown in the arena because I couldn't ride that day. Um, you have to share the good and the bad. And when you share the bad, you are, of course, leaving yourself wide open to people kind of going, well, why are you being sponsored by them? Because you're shit.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready for both sides of it. You can't just post the rosette pictures with, X company jacket on your back kind of thing. You have to give it all out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worth thinking if you are wanting to go down the route of being a brand ambassador or a representative that, you do have to give both sides, and you are going to be wide open to negative as well as positive.
Yeah, I think as well though, even not being a brand ambassador, I think people want to see that now. They're sick of the everything's perfect. They want to see people tend to be more likely to follow you if you show the bad days as well.
Absolutely, and it's kind of like it's a point of realism, and I think that's part of the glory of, people that are just everyday riders are being given more of a look in than just the professionals, because these international riders, to be quite honest, half of them never see the products. They don't know what they're representing, I mean, like they're getting paid sponsorships there and at a much bigger level than grassroots riders are. So it's more
I suppose, yeah, if the products and paid sponsorship go to the big riders, their grooms are probably like using it more. So at least I suppose these grassroots riders are getting a chance to actually test the products and see what they're like. But also again, they're opening themselves to that like dangerous of saying your opinion's wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not a high enough level.
yeah, and it's kind of like, it's something you see more now is the fact that like people are sending products to just everyday social media influencers that are using the products and showing them. Um, and it's kind of the danger with that then, though. Well, it's not a danger, but it's a common lapse is that there's an awful lot of imitation, because I mean, you can only showcase, say, a fly spray in so many different ways before you imitate somebody and before you're taking this person's idea on how they would review it. And it actually came to the point where about 3 years ago, there was somebody taking my reviews word for word. The only difference that they would make is they would replace my product review page name with theirs. And I mean, it was coming like to the fact where like I was fuming about it. I genuinely was fuming about it. But like, what can you do? It's like people were saying, "Oh, imitation is flattery," and I was like, "It's not flattery when somebody is actually stealing your thoughts and your hard work and just making it theirs." And
It's
it's
one
something
it's
that
one thing to do a similar style post, but it's another thing
yeah,
to actually take a word for it. That's actually plagiarism.
yeah, and I mean, like, I actually, I also, I'm the administrator of a page that is for influencers and bloggers and so on, the Haynet page, which unfortunately has kind of died over the last couple of years. But I put a post up about it, kind of going, how do you deal with, real imitators? And the person actually commented on my post, kind of going, "Oh, that's so annoying," and I was kind of going, "Jesus Christ!" Like, I can't deal with it, so I had to let it go. And thankfully, she's
Screenshot
kind of
name and shame. That's what you have to do now.
oh, do you know what? No, I hate doing that as well, because I think that would make you just look like a right bitch. But it's kind of ended there for me. But it's people will argue that they're not copying you, that people have ideas, or it's a natural instinct to follow what other people are doing successfully. And you can't stop somebody, or you can't even begrudge them to do that, but it does get bloody annoying when you have an idea and next thing you're seeing people replicate it, whether or not they're doing the exact same thing or slightly changing it. It's just human nature to, if you see something working for somebody, that you're going to try it. But as I said, it's coming to the point now where the market of influencers is far exceeding the actual market of products.
Yeah. Especially I think when it comes to horses, like there's a lot of things you can try, but it's also again kind of niche. Like so as I said, there's only so many ways you can show a fly spray, like a head collar. It fits my horse, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you're always trying to find that slightly different angle. And it's just coming to the point now where there is no point because there's going to be somebody will replicate what you're doing. There's
Mm.
going to be somebody that will take your idea of I can differentiate here and they'll just put a little twist in it and it's the same thing. And I think it's difficult for companies to try and pick who to use because often followers mean nothing. Somebody with 10,000 followers might not get the same response as somebody with 100 just
Yeah.
based on the way they're promoting the product.
But also like you
But
can buy followers now as well. So like a real way to find out if someone had 10,000 followers because they paid for them is there's no engagement on any of their posts.
yeah, yeah, and it's I don't know how many times I have like these companies contact me in my inbox kind of going, oh, special deal, buy followers. And I'm like, Jesus,
All the
no,
time. Same.
it's like you're a fraud
Mm.
if you do that because you're representing yourself as being this hugely popular person that you're not. And as you said, it's only a matter of time before people realize. And I think that actually turns people off because if you're going to buy followers, how can they trust your actual opinion on something?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
you're saying look, here's my honest review. Really? You're not honest about your number of followers, but you'll give an honest review on a product,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
And the thing as well when you're saying like you have to present yourself a certain way in front of brands as well. The other thing is you have to be very careful what you put up, or that can end
Very
your
careful.
brand relationship very quickly.
It can, and like I said, it's once you kind of come into this lifestyle, everything has to be a thought,
Mm.
because you could say, for example, one of the things I would do is I don't when I'm riding, I don't use spurs, I don't carry a whip. So for me then to say, oh, I'm going to review this whip,
Yeah.
there's going to be somebody's pick up and that kind of going, but you said maybe 3 years ago into that you don't ride with the crop, but yet
Uh,
you're going to review one. You have to stick by your morals when you're going to review projects or promote them. Because if you're promoting a project that you actively don't believe in, there's the false narrative again. And it's also just people ask me why I never do a bad product review. The answer is simple. What I might find awful, somebody else could find absolutely brilliant. And it's not my opinion as one person to say, okay, we'll just say this fly spray,
mm.
just using the generic example again, is crap because it didn't keep the flies away. That could just be flies in my area. Maybe in Ireland it doesn't work on horse flies, but say in America it could work brilliantly on, I don't know, a dragonfly.
Yeah.
So if I'm sent a product that I don't like or I don't believe in, I will just actually return the product to the company and just say, look, I'm sorry, I can't review this because I don't find it very good. But, here are my thoughts on maybe where you should aim it or what you could do to improve it. But certainly, I'm not going to go online to however many people might see it saying this is a shit product because it's not my job to ruin any product's reputation or any company's reputation. So people kind of say, but you're only giving one side of it.
Mm.
And yeah, if as my mom used to say, if you've nothing nice to say nothing at all. And that's how I live through it. And
Yeah.
that's the way I've always done it.
It's interesting because I do like I watch the odd time on YouTube these like they say makeup influencer and skincare influencer, and to be fair to them, they're very blunt in the sense that if they don't like it, they'll say it. Um, but I'd say they're also at a certain level where if someone sends stuff like if it like they're getting like the big companies are sending them stuff like the big ones,
Hmm.
so they're like, yeah, I don't like it. But I'd say they've already told if they don't like it, they're going to tell you they don't like it. They have said in certain things, this wouldn't work for my skin type in certain situations, but other stuff they're like, that is useless. Um, but it does feel bad to say that though as well, because if someone's given something so much work, like you don't want to be telling them it's shite. Like,
No, and like I said, particularly not if it's just for you. I mean, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has, some people might, what I might think is absolutely brilliant, you might think is
Yeah.
awful, and vice versa. And, as you said, it's disrespectful to go out slating a product. And, you know, there's also the kind of side of things then that you can get people that maybe had a disagreement with the company in question and maybe out for vengeance.
Mm,
Whereas they can take a perfectly good product and destroy it
yeah.
by saying, this is actually crap. So when I started doing this, well, when I kind of laid out, when I realized that it was something that was going to be more than just one or two products, I specifically and consciously made the decision I'm not going to badmouth products. Now, if it's a case of I would have a suggestion about, this is hard to apply, I certainly won't be ashamed to say maybe if you tried putting it on with a spatula or, put on a rubber glove. I will just make that point that it might be difficult to use, but once you get it on, it's brilliant. It's not out to trick anybody or to lead them down a false path of beliefs. It's like, this product is good. This is why I'm reviewing it. This is why I'm recommending it. But no, I will never take on a product that I don't believe in or I don't like.
Yeah, no,
Is
that's
the way I look at it is that if I would buy the product myself after being sent it to review, then I'm happy to review it.
yeah. I think there's too many people out there as well that will take anything just for the free stuff, isn't it? Like, and that it's like you have integrity in the sense that you're not going to, just take the free stuff and tell everyone it's
No,
great.
no, it's not worth it, Chrissy. And it's just, it's like, as again, you're going back to the point of where you're putting yourself on a social media platform. There's a responsibility comes with it. It's like people wouldn't go out promoting, certain taboo subjects. And it's the same
Mhm.
with products, just you have to remain professional. And if
Yeah,
you do want to, give a bad review, I would suggest that people should probably talk to the company first and say, listen, I'm going to do this, you know, um, just to give the company a heads up, because again, you never know what your thoughts can influence or cause in a chain reaction wise.
well, that's the thing as well. Like, it's having that relationship with the company, like, saying, "Look, I'm not a fan of this. I can put it out and say like that kind of thing. If you don't want it, fine. But you know, don't just slate them after them sending you free stuff."
No, no, because at the end, you should never even look at it as you're getting free stuff. The way I look at it is that this company believes in me and, thinks enough of me to let me give my opinion of it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I find then, not from my own page, obviously, but from seeing other review pages that might give a bad review, you then have people jumping on the bandwagon and it turns sour,
Yeah.
and I just don't understand it. I mean, we'll say rugs.
Mm.
Rugs occasionally leak. You might get a bad one, look, it happens. If that's the case, ring up the company and say, I bought a rug and it's leaking. But to take it to social media and to just annihilate it and then have other people jump on, you could destroy a whole brand name in one thread. You could put a company out of business in one thread.
Yeah. But people doing that, they don't want to sort it out with the company. They want the company to give them free things
More
to
free things,
apologize and
yeah, and then of course you're putting them in the position whereby, well, if X got a free rug, Y should get it. And again, it's almost putting the company over a barrel to the point where they can't kind of say, well, I'll give you one, but I'm not giving her one, but I'll give
mm,
you one because you're an influencer. It's there's a lot more thought that needs to go into being reviewers. And that's another reason why I will never kind of like I just feel that you have to believe in the product.
yeah,
I would never kind of go off saying, oh, this is fabulous and not have a use for it.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it is your opinion. I might be raving about something and you might go and buy it and say it's actually shit, which is fair enough as well. But all I can do is say, well, this is what I think. And this
yeah,
is what I do is I just show kind of like my mantra is, I try before you buy. So that's why I'll always do vlogs, just showing you, how this fits or how you can put this on or how it looks on. It's basically just a little fashion show on another human. I'm certainly no model. So people can just get a realistic idea. I mean, like everything looks good on the likes of, oh God, I don't know, Gigi Hadid.
Yeah.
She's a supermodel. Of course, she's going to make it look good. But like, there's me with my cellulite, my fat ass. I mean, like, if I can pull it off, people are going to see that it is built for real life people.
Yeah, but you want to see real life people. Like you don't want to see her modeling stuff. Like obviously it's great to look at her and all that great, but like, you want to see is it going to be something that you can actually wear if
Yeah,
you're a normal
yeah.
shape person?
I mean, like, if we were all 6 foot, bombshells, hell yeah, I wouldn't want to see it on because I know it's going to look good in me. But the problem is, the majority of us are just basic humans, you know?
They're normal people.
Yeah, that's it, and that's kind of just, I think, why I've kind of lasted the test of time is because I don't feel comfortable. I mean, be under no illusion the fact that I feel confident when I'm putting on a pair of riding tights, we'll
Mm.
say, and standing in front of a camera at all angles, and it's uncomfortable, and I genuinely, I cannot watch those videos back because I am just like, oh my God, you can see my cellulite through that, my stomach is hanging out over the top. It's very uncomfortable, but again, you're putting yourself on a platform because people are trusting in what you do.
Mm. And people are going to look up to you for doing that as well. Like, you probably think it looks a certain way, but people are like, God, they look great on, you know what I mean? Like, you know what? Like, someone say, for instance, like, you're obviously judging yourself quite a bit there, but say someone is a similar body shape, they're looking at that going, oh my God, that's actually gonna look nice on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, I do know what you're saying, and I think that's kind of where we need to be more realistic as well in the question in life, basically. Look, we aren't all blessed with the perfect figure or the perfect hair, and this is like, I think, again, where companies, I mean, you'd even see the likes of Nike there, they actually have mannequins that are, a size 14 to 16, because
Mm.
look, at the end of the day, that's what most of us are. Like, we're bigger sizes, or you know, we're a little shorter, or our thighs are fatter or whatever, and I think companies are actually looking towards people that realistically represent what they're doing now.
And the uproar on that has been gas.
Yeah, I mean, like, in a way they can't win,
Mm.
but you have to cater to all shapes and sizes.
One thing I find is funny is that the plus size models as well, like, and people are like, you're promoting unhealthy, and I'm like, well, if they're in gym gear, maybe they're exercising to intend to improve
Yeah,
their
like,
body composition and bring their health. Like, it's just like not everyone goes into the gym a size 6, and not everyone should, like, but you know what I mean? It's a lot of
yeah,
people
I
start
think
somewhere.
we're so judgmental. I mean,
Mm.
I think you could basically have the perfect human and we'd find fault with them.
Oh yeah,
It's like people are just out to critique and criticize and bitch and moan, and like, we're never happy with what we have, and look, that's just life. If that was the case, we'd all be walking down catwalks making millions, unfortunately. It's just a select few that can do it.
that's the whole point of marketing and stuff like that, isn't it? Because you make people feel lesser, and then they want to buy the things that'll make them feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's look, it's a marketer's world. It really is. There's always going to be somebody would want to buy into what you're selling.
Mm.
And I guess as reviewers and influencers, and I would call it our job. It's our job to realistically say, well, look, this is what this does.
Yeah,
This is how I found it, and I'm just like you, and just let people then kind of have a bit more information than just walking in and buying it off a shelf.
yeah. I think that's, I suppose, maybe the reason you see it this way is possibly because when you started, you were like a little bit older. You weren't an 18-year-old thinking they're going to
Mm.
be famous by getting a load of followers. Do you know what I mean? Um, and I think that probably like stands to, like, it's easy for, like, for us to say this, whereas like when I was, younger, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, if I just get a load of followers, everything will be grand.
But I think, like, social media is also to blame for that. I mean, you have the likes of this Esme, and is it Harlow and Popcorn? We were at the RDS weekend just gone, myself and my friend, and another friend of ours, and her, she had her kid with her,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I suppose I don't have children, so I'm not around kind of younger kids that much. But it was just actually seeing her face as she saw like the Aztec Diamond collaboration with Harlow and Popcorn. Yeah, like that. Apparently she's a 12-year-old influencer in her pony. And she went in and
Yes.
dropped, I think, €280 on a little riding set because Harlow had it. And I was asking her mum, kind of like, who is Harlow? Because obviously, look, I mean, fucking I'm 46, Harlow's 12. I don't follow her. I didn't know who the girl was.
Yeah.
And she just said, oh yeah, she's like this Esme, they have millions of followers, and there's a huge pressure then on these kids. I mean, like, if you're 12 and you have a clothing label in your name, of course you're going to be pushed into this, I'd say almost dangerous territory.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure on young kids to be dealing with, really.
Yeah, I definitely think like, and you see those like family vloggers and stuff like that. I think it's all well and cute at the start, but they really need to mind them until they're at least 18, just because like of course a 12-year-old is gonna say, yeah, clothing band, great, yeah, I'll do this, that, and the other, but they don't know what they're agreeing to.
They don't. And, it's again, social media, for all the goodness that it has, it's a very toxic, dangerous place as well,
Mm.
and it's obviously these opportunities are presented to these kids because of the fact that they have so many followers. But for every 1,000 genuine people that love you on social media, you're going to have just as many that are going to be bitter and vindictive.
Yeah.
And, it's just, I think people need to be aware of the dangers that come with the fame.
I think it's like the child actors, isn't it? Same thing. Like
Mm.
they got forced into the limelight, and a lot of the time, obviously a 12-year-old is gonna be like, yeah, take a video of me and my pony, take a picture of me and my pony. Now they are probably obviously they would have grown up with it, like they're the age I think that have never not had social media.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they're probably on, but the same thing as a child actor. Of course, they're going to want to go in movies and be famous, but it's the parents that are getting all the money, and the parents are pushing them forward. You need to kind of be careful and mind them.
You do. I remember when I started the page, I think it was about a year before I actually before I put my face on the page. I was
Mm.
mortified, and maybe it was because I was a little older, kind of going, Jesus Christ, like people, like I can't be seen to be doing this. And I remember the first video I took, I was absolutely scarlet. I was so embarrassed about what if people see me, that kind of way. And
Yeah.
even to this day, I still, the sweat to be pouring off me, whether I'm filming a review myself in the art or whether I'm doing an interview. Literally, I have to like literally overdose in deodorant because I'd be mortified. I'm so self-conscious. And it's like it's not comfortable. I admire anybody that can genuinely just not care about what they're doing because I hate it. Like I genuinely, I'd be so embarrassed.
I'd be like anytime, like I've made loads of videos with Sam, either in the field and or out on the like in the stable, and I'm always looking around to make sure no one's around, that they don't hear me like lip syncing to this thing or see me dancing doing stupid things with the horses looking at me going, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just literally so cringy.
It's and it's like I don't know how people do that just in front of people and don't care, but I suppose if you've grown up with it, like they don't
I
know
think
any
I think
different.
the later you start in life, the harder it is
Mm.
to actually feel comfortable in the camera. But like I said, the earlier you start, I think it's at disadvantages as well because you're thrown into the social media level at such a high rate,
Yeah, that's
you know?
true. Just I don't know. Like I don't have the patience to be an influencer. Not that I
Mm.
don't think I could carry things, but like I put the odd video up and I make like silly ones and they always do really well, or like, just little joke videos, and I'm like, that's grand. That's nice to see they're doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're like me. It's like I would never bare my soul on my
Mm.
page like some of these people do. I mean, some of these people, we know what they have for breakfast, we know what they wear to bed. I mean, they're literally documenting their life like you see everything.
Yeah.
No, I'm way too private, and I'm way too, I don't want people to know everything that I do. Like I said, I post about just kind of the ponies, the dogs and products, and that's about it really.
Yeah, that's me. It's like the pony, the guinea pigs, and I suppose talking about fitness. I post some of my training stuff from time to time. And even then, like I put something up of me doing a max deadlift once, and straight away, you're not doing that right with your technique. And I'm like, it's a max deadlift, the technique's always off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that they'll always be comments, good and bad. You just have to take them.
Yeah, and I don't even have that many followers, so I was just like, that's fine. Yeah, you do you. Bye. So you've moved into a very niche part of the niche industry with minis. How did that come about?
I suppose it came about really when I rescued Peanut, my first rescue pony when I adopted her. I got her to keep my jumper company when my older jumper had to be put to sleep.
Mm.
And really, it was never, I got her as a companion. I thought that's all she'd ever be until the rescue said that Cork Show were holding a rescue class and they'd love, all the people that had adopted ponies to take them down in the class. So I took her down and she actually won the class. But it wasn't the fact she won, it was just her, like unloaded her out of the horse box. And like when I had originally taken her on, she was very difficult. She was quite feral. She was aggressive. She'd had 10 failed fosters that because of her attitude. And she's only 8 hands high. So she took a lot of work, and it was actually my horse Cody, I think, brought her to the point where she was at
Mm.
because she saw he was a big baby, like, and I wasn't doing any harm to him. But as soon as she got out of that horse box, my God, she loaded. I'm going to say it because, I had only had her a couple of months and she was still, kind of like patchy hair where the head collar had grown onto her face and stuff. She was, she was kind of ugly to be fair. She was all patchy and hairy. Um, but she got out of that horse box and you'd think she was like a 20 hand high Percheron or something that it strut out of her. And, she went into that ring and I mean, she literally made love to the judge. I was like, who is this pony? So she just loved it.
Mm.
And then I took her to another couple and she placed at every one she went to. And then we kind of said, let's take her bigger up against
Yeah.
actual really well-bred miniature ponies and Shetlands. So we went to Mullingar to a miniature show and she cleaned up there. And, she started winning championships and titles. And so we just kept it going. And then when I sold Cody, in January a year ago, I took on Pixie to keep Peanut company because obviously I didn't want her on her own. And I said, "Sure, I may as well throw her in the box and bring her along to shows as well." And she started doing really well. So that's kind of how I got into it. It's not something I ever wanted to do because even like with my horses, I did a couple of shows, but I didn't really enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
Showing. So yeah, it's kind of really you're limited with what you can do at minis because of the size of them, obviously. And in the 5 years that I've been doing it, I've seen so many shows get rid of miniature classes. So there's even less for them to do. So
Okay.
I'm trying to promote the fact that minis can do so much, and it's not just showing, it's jumping, it's carriage, driving, agility, in-hand dressage. Like there's so much for them, but we just need shows and organizations, particularly in Ireland, to cater to them. Because if you were in the UK or America, there's so much better
Yeah.
looked after for the minis. So again, I think it's just Ireland needing to catch up with the times because there are so many minis over here, so many of them.
Yeah, it's interesting you saying that because I didn't even know they could do all those other different things as well. Like, do you know what I mean? I knew you could do showing, but you kind of think, oh, they're like, they're so small. There's not a lot you can do with them.
I mean, the minis, Jesus, I've seen minis jump fences twice the height of themselves.
That's cool.
Yeah, like they have little pieces, like they should have pieces. I mean, you have the Shetland pony race in England, I mean, can you imagine the crack we'd have if we had that over here?
Yeah, that'd be class.
Do you know? I mean, it's like there's so much that they can do. I mean, you should see these miniature ponies when they're decked up in the carriages. Um, it's just unreal, and to be honest, we're an embarrassment in comparison to the UK with the lack of things we do for them, and they're diminishing more and more. Like last year now, I had an extra 3 shows to go to. This year there was no miniature classes held at them,
It's
and
really
they're
bad,
kind of
yeah.
saying, oh, it's the numbers aren't big enough, but sure, numbers are going to disintegrate. The more people the more shows that keep cancelling classes for them,
Mm,
the less people are going to bother putting their horse out, their pony out to get them ready for 2 shows a year.
yeah.
You know,
Is there a lot of work that goes into getting them ready?
um, there is mainly the weight issue because
Okay.
obviously Shetlands are prone to carrying weight. Um, but once you kind of get on top of it, they're not that bad. They're a little bit good groom. Obviously you have the likes of the American miniatures, which are always looking more show ready, and the fact that they're very sleek in their appearance and their thin coats, Shetlands are probably the hardest of all miniature ones to own because they're thick coats and they molt. Jesus, they're only stay molting free for about 3 months of the year, if even, and then they're straight back into it again.
Constantly
And
covered in horsehair.
constantly, and like they need to be shown native, so you shouldn't clip them. So yeah, they're they're not the easiest to own, but they're so funny. They're gas, like they're brilliant.
Oh, I love seeing the videos of them, the little attitudes on them and just running
The
about
attitude.
and they're just so cute.
What they lack in height, they make up in attitude.
So they like in competition with each other now with different shows like Pixie or Peanut.
It is, and I suppose as the owner of both of them, it's very hard to see them competing against each other, particularly this year now. Peanut up to this year has always been the the better pony in the showing. She's extremely well put together, and she really knows how to work in front of a judge. Pixie, unfortunately, because she was used for breeding, she's quite distended in the stomach, so she looks very heavy, where it's actually just internal scarring and tissue and all that crap. Um, but she's an exceptionally beautiful pony. I mean, she is just stunning. Um, so this year it's kind of going back and forth between them, whereas Pixie will win all around her one week and Peanut will do it the next week. So yeah, she's obviously coming into herself this year.
They're trying to pick between your
So
favorite child, isn't it?
it's hard, it is hard because, like I said, to me, Peanut is the better pony for
Mm,
showing, just because of her conformation and her movement. Whereas if you had to stand the two of them together, the eye is drawn to Pixie because she is just so beautiful. I mean, she's
yeah.
just stunning in the face.
Her colouring
Um,
as well is gorgeous.
yes, and it's very unusual, and she's like has a really, really long mane. So yeah, it is tough. It's like being asked to pick a favorite child, like, it's yeah, it's not great.
What would be something you'd love people to know more about when it comes to minis?
I think I'd actually love people to know that they don't deserve the rap they get. Again, in particular, Shetlands. I mean, you've heard like the Shetlands and all this kind of stuff, and they can be brats. I mean, 100% they can, but they are also the best companions, and they're full of love. Look, they are just so loving, and I think because I think they don't deserve the rap that we do give them, like for breaking out through fences and stuff like that. I mean, the point is they're so small they can get out of anywhere. I don't
Yeah.
even think they need to do it in a bratish way. Um, but something else I love to kind of raise more awareness of for people, particularly new people handling miniatures, is that people sometimes forget that they don't need to be dragged along like a big horse would be. I mean, the amount of miniatures I've seen getting like asked to move over, but with excessive force, not in a
Yeah.
nasty way, but just not thinking,
Yeah,
that
there's
kind of way. It's just when you're used to handling big horses, the next thing you're coming into miniature, just be aware that they are miniatures and they don't need the same force or pressure. That kind of way,
yeah.
And look, it's something I had to learn to do myself. Like when I'd be leading them, I'd be flaking along, forgetting that I have 7 hands at the end of the rope instead of 16 too, that kind of way. And you just have to wait for them as well. They're not going to walk as fast either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so just a little bit more of an understanding, like to differentiate, because I struggled with it when I first got into them.
Yeah, I suppose if you are used to like, working with like 16 2 or like even 15 to, like it's still a massive change. Like, so yeah, you'd be used to shoving them, but you'd really knock things over, wouldn't you?
That's it, you know what I mean? Like they are short and stocky and most of them are quite fat, but it just I kind of had to catch myself a couple of times kind of going, geez, I could actually really have hurt her there the way I asked her to move over. So yeah, so that's just something that I would make people aware of if they're new to them, because I had
Mm.
to go through it myself.
And would you like say to people like who might have a horse on like a single horse, whatever, would you think like advise them getting a mini is a great like little companion or just even just to have.
I think it depends. For me, I was very lucky because Cody, my horse, was a big gentle giant.
Mm.
And he mothered Peanut when she came. But if you are inclined to have a horse that might be a little bit more dominant or a bit of a bully, you're going to have to remember that you have a little dot next to a big horse and
Mm.
they need to be protected. You also have to be mindful of the fact that putting a horse out to 2 acres of grass isn't going to do him much damage, whereas that could kill a miniature with laminitis in a week.
Okay, yeah.
It's like you do have to be aware of the fact that I think people think they're small and cute, so they're going to be like great little pets. I've struggled more owning the miniatures than I have my entire life owning big horses because you have to constantly be so mindful. This year has been hell with the weather because it's been so hot but raining and the grass sugar level is just through the roof. I mean, I've just it's been so hard the last couple of months to own them because you're constantly monitoring them, checking the hooves, checking cresty necks, and it's a pain. Like it really is. Like they are hard to own. Like
Yeah.
there's no qualms about it. There's no point in even saying they're not. They are.
Yeah, see,
You
that's
know.
I think that's a really good point to make because I think there will be a lot of people like who would just go, oh yeah, sure, just throw them out in the field, but like that, this is smaller, so it is much easier for them to overeat and end up with health problems.
Yeah, and you know what now, Chrissy, it can come at you like that.
Mm.
I mean, last week I went and checked in them, and I'll always do the Cresty Shake, the neck test. There was no problem. I went up, did the same thing 2 days later, and Pixie's neck was literally crest central. I was like, fuck it, So you have to just straight away go into action, get them off the grass, and it's not fair then as well because Peanut was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, but you have to kind of treat them both equally. Likewise, feed wise, you have to be very careful treat wise because I mean, you could treat a normal horse there with, oh God, a big handful of something. That to mini is way too much. You just have to adjust your thinking to the size.
Yeah, that's really good that you're mentioning that because I think it's definitely something that needs to be highlighted for anyone who is thinking of getting a mini.
Yeah, and it's actually the one thing you hear is there all the time is like, oh, should they're grand to own, are they? Like, I mean, do you just put them out the back garden? And it's kind of like, well, no, I don't have a back garden big enough for them. But like, even if I did, you can't just put them out in the garden
Yeah.
or in the paddock and forget about them. It's you just can't like,
Yeah, no, that
you
makes
know.
100% sense. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
There's a lot of minding in them.
it is definitely something that it's good to highlight that for people. But yeah, I think that is everything I have to ask you, Ona. Before
Okay.
you go though, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, my page, I am Equine Sense, which is CES and Sensibility on Instagram and Facebook. And on TikTok, I am Equine Product Reviews. So that's where they'll find me.
Yeah, and also there's lots of videos of Pixie and Peanut, so like it's enough to make you want to go see them. Like,
Yeah, they'll
and
be
brush
going up
these
there,
off.
their regular peers.
Um, and as ever, guys, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It is strong in the saddle with an underscore on Instagram, but without the underscore on TikTok. And then my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. So I just want to say thanks again for joining us today.
And thanks for having me.
I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.